Welcome to another basketball edition of the Bobcast. We'll begin with women's basketball, another 2-0 week for the Bobcats. Winners over Penn State Harrisburg and winners at Salisbury. I'm here with head coach Carrie Saunders. The Bobcats are 12-4, 4-2 in Capital Athletic Conference play. And coach, another 2-0 week. Following an 0-2 week, really, what was the message and the approach to your team kind of bouncing back against two of the best teams in the CAC coming into this week?
The message was just get back to us. That was kind of the big message was let's just focus on us, focus on our principles, especially on the defensive side of the floor. It's still a young season. You know, yes, we went 0-2, but the season's not over. We've got to get back to the principles of what Frostburg basketball is, and that started in practice. Having conversations with people of, you know, this is what I need from you, this is what I need from you. And I think we got back to that a little. And this was a big week for us to go back 2-0 after an 0-2 week.
I want to start in Penn State Harrisburg and really getting back to it. That game opened on an 18-2 run for your team. However, Harrisburg responds with a 19-1 run to take a lead. And then FSU, an 11-0 spurt, takes the lead for good. I think it's important to understand why Frostburg went on a run, but I think it's also important to understand why Penn State Harrisburg went on its run. So from your perspective, what led to the Bobcat runs, and then what led to really the dry spell in Penn State Harrisburg being able to come back?
I think the initial run was we were shooting well, but two, we were moving the ball extremely well on offense, but limiting them to one shot and done. Our defense was very, very good, and that's the principles of our program is you play really good defense. And then, you know, their run, they started adjusting a little, which obviously they needed to do with the way that we opened up the game. And it just kind of startled us for a little bit. I made some subs. You know, it kind of got us out of that rhythm that we had started with, and, you know, called a timeout and just said, settle down. Like, settle down. You know, it's stop panicking. You know, we're dribbling the ball right into their pressure. Just pass the ball through it and you're fine. But right now we're panicking, and we're not playing as a unit and as a team. So after that timeout, we kind of settled ourselves back down. And, you know, I just said we just played a team that pressured us, you know.
One of the best in the country,
yes,
in Christopher Newport.
At pressuring. And, you know, we could break that. So I think it kind of just threw us, you know, off a little bit. But, you know, we responded. We came out back after that timeout, took the lead, never looked back. So, you know, good way to respond after their run.
I want to hit on Amanda Emery in this game, a career-high 26 points, and really what struck me is how available she made herself. And Frostburg is a team, 22 assists on 25 made baskets. What just made her so effective in the flow of the offense against Penn State Harrisburg?
Yeah, you know, there's certain teams that we can get the ball inside a little bit more than others, and when we get the ball inside, we've got to be able to score. And she did just that. You know, we've been working with her on limiting her dribbles in the paint and, you know, gaining that position for the move that she wants to make and just go. Go to the free throw line, go make a basket. You know, don't second guess yourself when the ball comes into you. If you've got advantage, go work. And that's exactly what she did in that game. And she went on a little run there that no one could stop her. I think she had like 10 straight points, you know, in the paint. I think it was in the third quarter where it was just boom, 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 and no one could stop her. But she's been coachable this week. I've been on her about, you know, once the ball comes in to the post players, you've got to do something with it. You know, you can't just get the ball in and pass it back out. And, you know, her dribbling sometimes takes her out of position and out of her moves, and it gives times for people to collapse. So she did a good job in that stretch of just going to the rim. So I'm proud of her week for sure. She's kind of stepped up for us in a big way.
Huge game for her. We also want to highlight Grace Butera, a season-high 21 minutes in that game, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, all without a turnover. Anai Allen also started again and contributed. How have they kind of developed through this season and were able to play a part and have a role in this win over Penn State Harrisburg?
Yeah, they've been really consistent. And that's the thing that I preach all the time in practice is be consistent. To touch on Grace first, you know, she came off that shoulder injury from last year as a freshman, never really played. And this year was all about just getting her feet back under her, and she's finally at that point. I kind of saw her turning a corner in practice, and I'm like, here it comes. You know, here it comes. And Penn State Harrisburg was a time where we were like, let's get her some of those minutes. see what she does, and she just does those little things for us.
Hmm.
She keeps the ball alive. I mean, she had 1 point, like, but she had six assists to no turnovers and kept balls alive, got rebounds, defended well, ripped the ball out of people's hands. Like, that's what we needed, and that's kind of the missing piece is that person that just keeps that ball alive and will do anything for the team. And that's exactly what she stepped up in that game and did. And 6 assists to no turnovers with 1 point, I'll take that. I will take that.
Hmm.
Just because her heart and her effort was a 100% there. And Anai has been consistently practicing well. She's taking what we want her to do and applying it in practice, and it's carrying over a little bit in games. There's times where she makes freshman mistakes, but the thing that I love about her is it doesn't change her style of play on the floor. Like, I took her out after she made a mistake and she was like, "Yeah, that was stupid." And that's the
Hmm.
type of player that, like, yeah, I messed up right there. And for her to be, I knew that CNU game, throwing her into that, and then Harrisburg again, and she's kind of continued to start for us because of that, because of her resilience. I know that if she makes a mistake and someone talks to her, she's just like, "Yeah, okay, I gotcha," and moves forward. So consistency is the big thing that's led them into the minutes that they've gotten.
I want to shift gears to Salisbury. The win at Salisbury is Frostburg's first at Salisbury since that first year in the CAC, so it's been a while. It's a long trip. Close game. We get to the third. Salisbury goes on an 11-0 run to take a 9-point second half lead with 2 minutes to play in the third. And in a low scoring game like this one, that kind of lead can seem even larger. What can you say about how your team responded to Salisbury's run and the way that your team played in the fourth quarter?
The thing about the game of basketball is there's always going to be runs. There's hardly ever a time where you play a team, especially in this conference, that someone doesn't go on a run. Every team in this conference is too good for that. And the thing that we talk about is no matter how big of a run, we can make a run just as big. And so you never stop playing. You never stop playing. It's just a matter of figuring out what works for us. Is that making an adjustment? We drew up some plays on the sideline to try and get some more movement, to try and get our shooters coming off screens. And that's what it's all about. Is it's a chess match the entire game, and it's us as a coaching staff and the players trying to figure out, okay, well, they went on a run, let's go on a run right back. So that's the thing that I love about our team is, yes, teams go on runs, but we don't necessarily ever count us out. And that's the great part is they went on that run, and it did seem really big at the time, just because of the way that the scoring was going. But I have faith that our team can push through, especially on the defensive side of the floor, because we just resort to, we're not getting stops. It's not about offense. We're not getting stops. We've got to be able to get stops. So that's what we did, and we went on a great run and came out with a huge win.
Victoria Diggs, you can't tell the story of this game without her. 29 of your team's points in this one, 29 of 56 points, 15 for 17 from the free throw line, the big go-ahead step-back three late in the game. The team needed her to really take the scoring load in this one. It's not something the team has asked of her as much this season, but is that still something that she, when you absolutely need her, you have faith for her to come through?
Yeah, and it's this difficult balance. I talked to her after the game about her not being able to do it all, and her trusting her teammates to be able to help her. And I talked to her about it like, she's a competitor. I know she wants to win, so she's going to do anything and everything. And if that means putting the whole team on her back, she'll do that. So yes, we've had other players step up huge for us. This is probably the first game that she's really had to kind of take that load 100%. I'm not saying that she doesn't do it every game, because she does do a lot every single game. But she even made a comment like, I need other people to be able to help, and be able to be that scoring threat, because all she did was get to the free throw line. And that's something that we preached at halftime. Like, they'll foul you, get to the free throw line, and be confident, go in there. Even if you don't make the shot, go draw a foul. But that three was huge. Her confidence was huge at the end of the game. She had that fire, like, we're not going down. We're not going down today. And it's great to have a kid like that on your team, and I'm so proud of her. She's an unbelievable player, an unbelievable person. just a great kid to have on your side for sure. She was exhausted after that one though, so
I'm
hopefully
sure.
she got some rest yesterday. But yeah, those points were huge.
That was an all-conference performance from her. Amanda Emery, the entire game, all 40 minutes,
Hmm.
14 points for her. She brought the second score for your team. Her and Diggs, well over half of the team's points. And while others didn't really show up in the points column, how were others able to contribute to this win outside of Diggs and Emery?
There. I mean, so we got beat on the boards, but we needed people to go in and rebound. So we had Anna playing, Yoder, Grace, all of those kids trying to battle. Not necessarily Anna, but the other two outside of their position without Sydney. Um, so for them to be able to come in and just be able to do that, whether it showed up in the stat line or not, that's a huge help for us. Um, Not letting their post players go off on us, staying consistent, like keeping the offense moving. Um, Anai and Jasmine and Kayla, and no matter how I always preach, no matter how many minutes that you play, as long as you give me your best in those minutes, then that's what the team needs. And they played good defense. Jazz played great defense. Megan didn't have a great scoring night, but she defended like she was very good getting over those ball screens, defending that quick guard. She kept her in front of her the entire night, and that's what she needed to do. Her shots, I think she ended up with 5 points, which is a little odd for her, but she defended, she kept the ball moving on offense, and she was still the threat out there. They knew that she was a shooter.
Yep.
It kind of took pressure off of some other people when she was on the floor, even though she wasn't hitting. So I always preach, you can always bring something to the table. A different kid step up every single night kind of thing. So it was a huge team effort. Our bench was so pumped the whole game, and that's what it's all about.
Was this game another example where your team shorthanded, out rebounded, long trip on the road, that no matter the circumstances, if your team shows up, especially on the defensive end of the floor, you're in any game,
Hmm.
and with a performance like you got with Diggs, you can win just about any game.
Yeah, we preach defense. We preach defense 100% in the program. When shots aren't falling, you can still contribute to the game, and that's defense. Um, you know, if we prevent, I think I said it at halftime of the Salisbury game. I don't care if the score is 40-39 and we come out winning. Like I don't, it doesn't matter the score as long as we have more points at the end. And if we can shut people down on the defensive side of the floor, there's nothing more deflating to a team when you can't get shots off. You're one and done every single time. And so that's what we preach. Defense is going to win games. Boxing out, all the little things, 50-50 balls. And that's what allows us to go on the runs that we do, is because we can shut people down defensively. But yeah, we got out rebounded. Sid got hurt in practice the night before. Get on the bus, drive down there. Weather on the way back. It took us 6 hours, I think 6.5 hours to
Oh
get
boy.
back. But that's the special part about this team, is like, let's just go do it. It doesn't matter. I prepped them before. I said, bring extra clothes. We might be snowed in somewhere. But it's like, we're going to Salisbury and we're getting a win. So very proud of our effort and our team.
Big win. Frostburg is at York on Wednesday, and that's going to be the first circuit around the CAC.
Mm-hmm.
You'll play the other 7 teams. What do you think of this really first circuit minus York, and what your team has been able to accomplish and how they have played? But what are you looking to improve upon the second time around the conference?
We have a veteran team, but we don't at the same time. So most of our veterans are in our top, 6, 7. So after that, we're going to freshmen off the bench, and now some freshmen in the starting lineup. So I think the second time around is, one, everyone's experienced the CAC and what it has to offer this year. So without York, after Wednesday, we'll go through York. And I think we're going to have a conversation as a team of like, all right, we've seen everybody and we're about to see everyone again. How do we feel? And I think everyone's going to be like, oh, we got this. And that confidence in ourselves, a little bit before, it was kind of, I don't know what CNU has to offer. I don't really know what Southern Virginia has to offer. I don't know what York has to offer. And now that especially our young kids have seen it, and our veterans are kind of exposed to what this year of the CAC is all about, I think we're going to have a lot of confidence in that second round. And we've got to protect home court when we have the opportunity to protect home court, but then we've got to get those big road wins as well. So I'm proud of the first half of our season. It's not over yet. We've got another one on Wednesday, and then we've got the whole round again. But I'm so proud of our fight. We've fought through injuries and everything, and we've just got to keep everyone healthy for the second half.
Finally, York coming off a win over Mary Washington. York has knocked Frostburg out of the tournament each of the last 2 seasons and won 9 straight meetings with the Bobcats. What are you looking for from your team to beat the Spartans?
Revenge. They have knocked us out of the playoffs the last 2 years. And they've kind of had our number in the past, but this is what this year is all about, is getting those games where we know we can. And so we've got, this one's huge. We've got to be able to go on the road. We've got a long road stretch here. We were away on Saturday, and we're away for this entire week. And we've got to be able to stay healthy, eat right, get on the bus and go. But revenge is my biggest thing. The girls want it. They're ready to go to York because their season has ended at York the last 2 years. So when we step into that gym, I think we'll be ready.
We are fired up. Bobcats on the women's side, 12-4. It keeps on rolling. Carrie Saunders, thank you for joining me once again.
Thank you.
Up next in the Bobcast, we have men's basketball with head coach Sean Brown. The men splitting this past week, a home loss to Penn State Harrisburg, 98-73, and then a road victory at 24th-ranked Salisbury, 97-86. The men are now 4-2 in conference play, and really the obvious question is, what is the difference in the way that your team played on Wednesday night against Penn State Harrisburg and then the way that your team played on Saturday?
Well, Wednesday night, for whatever reason, we weren't focused, we weren't locked in, and Penn State Harrisburg came out and they punched us in the mouth, and we couldn't recover. We couldn't guard anything they tried to do. They were more physical than we were. They outcoached us. They were way better coached than we were Wednesday night. They did some things that we weren't quite prepared for, and we didn't adjust. And the things that we were prepared for, their coaching staff made a few adjustments, and we weren't ready to adjust with them, and things kind of snowballed for us.
And then contrast that with the effort against Salisbury. What was different?
Well, Salisbury, I think we had a really good scheme going in. Coach Campbell does quite a few of our scouts. Between myself and Coach Lacani and Coach Campbell, Coach Graham, we all watch video. Obviously, we watch a ton of video, and we develop a game plan. We get on the same page. Coach Campbell does the bulk of the scouts, and he had a really good game plan for us going into Salisbury. Obviously, we've been playing Salisbury for the last 9-10 years. Coach Campbell's been a part of that the last 5 or 6 years. So he's got a lot of familiarity with Salisbury, and again, we were very prepared for what they had to throw at us.
So what was the big difference in terms of the focus approach between those two games from your players' perspective, and can you kind of pinpoint that? How do you really repeat the Salisbury in terms of the players' focus or being locked in, so that they aren't out physicaled, they aren't not really into the game and are punched in the mouth early, because it's uncharacteristic for your team to fall behind early?
Well, honestly, it's go back. It goes back to the next day of practice. We go back to some fundamental things that we like to enforce. We watch film and point out mistakes. The confusion. Again, we're still a team of a lot of different moving parts. So things get confused at times. Different responsibilities, defensive responsibilities. Because on the defensive end, I always say we do some exotic things at times, and there's times where we can keep it simple. We did a better job at Salisbury of keeping things simple, and when we did veer off of our original defensive scheme or defensive framework, and we did do some exotic things. They actually worked against Salisbury, and Penn State Harrisburg, giving them credit, they handled it a lot better than Salisbury. Penn State Harrisburg is a good team, man.
Mm-hmm.
And we said that leading all the way up to that game. I think I spoke to you about it prior
Mm-hmm.
to the game. Those guys have they're really well coached. They have a Division One coach there who's been in the league for years. He's been around college basketball for years as a head coach on every level. I mean, Coach Don Friday has those guys ready to play. Now, do they always have the talent to compete? At the top of the CAC? No. That's realistically speaking. But are they well coached? Absolutely. Do they have some of the best coaching in the league? Absolutely. Do those guys play hard and will they run through a wall and do they play assignment basketball for Coach Don Friday? Yes, they do. And again, leading up to this, I told the team, I spoke with you guys in the SID office. I spoke with our coaching staff. I knew this was going to be a tough game for us to win because they're so well coached and because those guys they play hard, man. They play hard. They make plays when need to, and again, they got off to a really nice start and took us out of some of the things we wanted to do, and they adjusted well to some of the things we threw at them. So it was tough all the way around. And Salisbury had some kids hurt. I don't want to act like they had a full complement of.
I think they
roster
only had 8
too.
guys dressed.
They had nine,
9
if I'm
guys
not
dressed.
mistaken. But they had a kid. Their point guard was hurt. I think he had gotten some kind of head injury or upper body injury last game, and he's a kid that we recruited really hard. And we thought we had him in our building, but Salisbury beat us out. So I don't want to act like that. They had a full complement of players because we took advantage of some of their mishaps too.
Sure, and let's get to that Salisbury game. Frostburg never trailed by more than 3 points, led most of the game. What can you say about the intensity and focus from start to finish from your team?
Well, guys, from the beginning, we came out hungry, and we had the same look in our eyes that we did against Longwood. Guys weren't joking, guys weren't playing, wasn't a whole lot of talking, wasn't a whole lot of rah rah. They were there to handle business, and you could tell from honestly leaving the hotel. The team meal wasn't a whole lot of joking, wasn't a whole lot of communicating. Guys were just watching college basketball. Leading up to the game while we had our team meal, and it was a totally different focus. And Salisbury does that to us.
Sure.
And that's
Every sport, across the board.
Here
Yeah.
at Frostburg. So our guys got to, they have a thing against with Salisbury and against Salisbury, and they are our school's rivalry, and these guys went into it and they played accordingly.
A balanced scoring effort from your team against Salisbury, 5 guys in double figures, and that's not necessarily been this team's MO to have such a balanced scoring attack. What was working offensively that led to such an outcome, and is that something you want to see kind of continue?
Well, yes, the guy that really came out of nowhere for a lot of people, and we've got a lot of text messages and phone calls and emails. Nick Johnson.
Nick Johnson,
18. I think we've been talking about Nick, and he's coming. He's still not there. He's so far away. He's a blank canvas, man. He's 6'6". I think he came out of high school at right over 6'5", just under 6'5". He's like 6'6", pushing 6'7" now. He's in the gym working every day. He's doing a great job of transitioning from that power forward position to a small forward wing. He's getting better in the handles. He's in the gym with the assistant coaches quite a bit, putting up shots, putting the ball on the floor, basically relearning the game from a different position. And, there was an opportunity of this right around that Southern Virginia game. There was an issue. We had an internal issue where we had, some lineup changes. We had to mix things up, and things weren't as smooth as our substitution patterns weren't as smooth as they could be or we wanted them to be. So, Nick is kind of now has started to slowly but surely
Well, he
take
had a
that
big
next
shot
step.
towards the end of the Southern Virginia
He
game, the three
did.
at the top of the key.
He did, and everyone in the coaching staff, we all thought that he really needed that to kind of get out of his own head. He hit that shot, and man, it's been full steam ahead since then. I mean, he had two, I think, a really big 3-point against Salisbury. He had two big two-handed jams in the second half. I mean, he really came alive for us. But Lawrence is that guy. He drives this ship. He drives this boat. Um, as I told you from day one, we go
Uh-huh.
as he goes. When he's aggressive, make or miss. When he's aggressive on offense, and he's running his team and leading his team from a scoring and assist standpoint. We're hard to beat. Um, I can't say enough about Lawrence. His leadership is coming along slowly but surely. Guys look at him and look for him for leadership, and sometimes it don't he rubs guys the wrong way sometimes, and it doesn't always come off positive. But hey, look, as leaders, we got to make the tough calls sometimes, and sometimes it don't sound good when we're critiquing and we're giving, we're giving criticism.
And I think everyone on your team is competitive and they all want the same thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Lawrence is really, really, he's trying. He's taking baby steps and he's learning. He's accepting coaching. He's accepting learning learning more about the position and more than anything about being a leader. So again, it starts with Lawrence. Terry Kenner, he does what he does. He makes
He
plays.
owns that mid-range area.
He owns the mid-range. Although he can hit the three and he
Mhm.
can get to the basket and finish, his mid-range game is unbelievable. So is Alexander's. We got
Mhm.
two guys who can play in the mid-range and really make plays off the bounce.
Now, this is a game your team led for most of it. At that 12-minute media timeout, you're up 15. It gets cut all the way down to 3 with 6:33 left. They've got momentum. They're playing in their building. These are the moments throughout the year where I'm interested to see how your team responds, and your team immediately pushes that lead back up to 9. What do you make of your team's ability to react to Salisbury's run and respond with one of its own?
Well, that's that speaks of a team that may be turning a corner. Um, and again, if I can mention, it starts with Lawrence, man. LP, he makes some really good suggestions. He's a coach on the court, really knowledgeable about the game. He's played so much basketball since he's been like 7 years old. I mean, there's only so much that I could teach him about the X's and O's because he has all of that figured out. Time and score, he made a suggestion, Coach, let's get out of our full court man to man. Let's go half court and let's just play it out. Make them score on us. He wanted to go to a soft man to man, provide help, and make them make tough twos. And that worked for a few. And it's especially when we had a rash of foul calls within that time, if you remember. Some we thought was tough calls, but some we were fouling. So he Lawrence kind of suggested we come out of that defense, and we played a little bit of played a little soft, and provide help, and I think that worked. He also suggested that we run an offense that we hadn't ran all game, and basically closed the game out running that offense. Slowing things down. It's not quite attacking so much. Time and score, things that we talk about at practice, things we talk about off the court. So I attribute that a lot to Lawrence, but also our assistants. Suggesting offense for defense. I mean, Coach Graham, he kind of told me 3 or 4 times that, hey, we got Zach sitting here, man. What are we doing? These guys are getting to the basket at will. They're scoring on us at will. We got Zach sitting here. We need to get him in. I mean, we can get him back out for, when that stoppages of play for offense and get an offensive
Hmm.
guy in there. He said, but we got to get him in there. And we have those battles as assistant, as coaches, and I welcome that. I welcome my assistants to challenge me and and definitely voice their opinion. Now, when we make a decision, we're all on the same page, and these guys understand. Nobody's mad at me once a decision's made. But he challenged me right there. Zach need to be in the game. Boom, we put Zach in, and all that driving to the basket kind of came to a
Yeah.
halt. They were we chased them off the 3-point line and chasing them right to Zach, and they were kind of stopping in between, like, oh, okay,
Nope.
now what do we do? So that definitely, it was a total team effort from the assistants, all the way through the players on the team to the 14th man on the bench, who was, those guys are cheering loud. They're starting defensive chants. They're bigging our guys up as they come out the game. Just total team win.
You mentioned it too in this game, but kind of a little of a disjointed feel. 46 combined fouls, 70 free throws between the two teams. How difficult was it for your team to kind of manage the nature of the game being kind of disjointed and not getting too frustrated with really what was kind of a quick whistle on Saturday?
Well, on during the week at practice, we blow a quick whistle. So we're teaching these guys. We shouldn't be fouling as much as we do. And again, some of it we're not sure, and we'll check with the rules and rules interpretation. But we practice this during the week. The official signer came down, and he spoke with our team for an hour and a half, and we practice those things that he says are point of emphasis in our game. And when we see something wrong or we see something close, we blow the whistle at practice and call a foul. And it was frustrating to our guys at first for the first maybe 4 or 5 weeks, but now they get it. So now that we're what 12 or 13, we're what 13 or 14 weeks into the season, now it's a shock initially, and then it's okay. That's just the way the game's played. Sometimes you're gonna get some that goes in your favor, and sometimes you're gonna get some that don't go in your favor. But what can you do? Can you manage the things that you can control? That's the main part. That's what we're trying to watch on film. That's what we're breaking down on film. And we see a kid get frustrated over a call. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but last 3 or 4 games, we take them right out of the game. We calm them down, talk to them, and get them ready, get them a drink, and get them right back in. But that's how we manage it. And I think if we continue to not complain about officials' calls and stay off the refs' back, that stuff evens out.
Yeah, and it was not enough to really sink your team as your team just battled through a stretch there in the second half where it felt like Salisbury was going to the line time and again.
And let me say something, and they probably should. I truly believe, when you work so hard and you've earned this reputation that Salisbury has earned and a national ranking. A 7 and 8 team should have to come in your building and beat you. They should have to
Hmm.
come in and take it. I really feel that way. We haven't earned any respect. We haven't earned anything, and rightfully so. We should have to work for everything we get. We should have to take everything that we get, and shouldn't have to look for an official to to give us anything or make a call on our behalf. If we were 12-2 or 13-2, maybe we will get that call, but we hadn't earned that, and that's truly how I feel. The best teams, get the benefit of the doubt because they're capable. The officials know going in, they're capable of making such plays, and in their mind, it may be an issue where, that team's capable of making that play. It must be a reason they didn't make that play. But regardless of what it is, again, rightfully so, Salisbury earns those calls. Those guys play hard. They're 23 in the country. We shouldn't have been able to walk in there and just get calls on their floor. And those officials let us play. Those who watched the game, they let us go with some things too. I mean, we were kind of aggressive on the offensive end, offensive rebounding and all of that. So I never want to blame anything on the officials, wins or losses. We got a job to do. We go in and we handle our business. Officials shouldn't it shouldn't even come into play.
And it was a team effort to take that win over Salisbury.
Absolutely.
And that is a big win so far this season over a nationally ranked opponent on the road. I do want to wrap up here with at York to finish the first circuit around the CAC. And really, this is something we talked with the women's side too. Your first time around, your first time seeing everyone. And so the first circuit minus York, well, what do you think? Where does your team stand, and where can your team really improve for this second time around?
Well, I think we are exactly what our record, where our standings say we are. We're middle of the pack. We have a strong conference, especially with Marymount and Wesley leaving the conference. People think that may have weakened the conference. That only strengthens the conference because, the top four teams didn't go anywhere. They're here. They're not going anywhere. Um, so we're right where we're right where the standings say we are. We're middle of the pack. Um, we second time around. Well, we got to finish York. But second go around, teams are going to be jockeying for position. Um, and again, our goal we want to get at least a home playoff game and then see how things work out from there. But we got a lot of work ahead of us. York, they just shot 45 3-pointers on Saturday evening rather. So we got our work cut out for us. They're fast, they're well coached, they're strong, they're quick, they're good.
Yep. My final question: how do you get your team ready to play another really high-powered York team led by Jason Beatty and Jared Wagner, guys who have been there?
Well, our guys sound like they're ready to go. I mean, I'm talking right after the game, right after Salisbury game. Our guys are talking York, and they were talking York for the first hour and a half when the game was over. Uh, so I think our guys are ready. They're hungry. They're ready to go. Um, I'm not sure if why, but I feel like our guys are on some kind of revenge tour.
Sure.
And but hey, I'll welcome that. If that's the attitude they want, if they want to play the underdog, I'm okay with it. Give us a reason to play. Give us a reason to go out there and play hard on York's court. But it's not going to be an easy game. It's going to be tough all the way down to the end. And you know, I'm excited for the game. I'm excited to get down there on Wednesday and get that dub.
We are fired up for it. A three-game road trip. The first leg, a win at Salisbury, at York Wednesday, at Mary Washington Saturday. Sean Brown, thank you for joining me another week on the Bobcast.
Hey, thanks again for having me.